Easy people, I hope everyone is fine and dandy. Welcome back to the show. While I've got you here, can I please get you guys to subscribe, like, comment and share to help the algorithm out. And while you do that, I will be blessing you with some incredible footage that I managed to gather while I was in Egypt on the Giza Plateau. And I'll be showcasing something that hardly anyone, I don't even think anyone spoke about this, but I know there's a lot of people that will be jumping all over this information when I show it to you. So we're just going to get straight into it. We're going to be focusing on this area in particular, and it's because it's the basalt floor that fascinates me. Now the reason I've put an arrow facing that way is because the gradient of the floor goes down away from the pyramids. So the pyramids are almost sitting on the top of something. So let me just show you here. This is a shaft, irrelevant, but what I want you to do is notice in the background the gradient of the ground going away from the pyramids. This is very important for this video. See here? You can see everyone's walking uphill like a pilgrimage to the pyramids. Keep that in mind. Now, what I will be doing today is showing you something that is absolutely phenomenal. I'm connecting dots like no one else. Now, I will be going on a show this Thursday with Archaeology to be parading this stuff on his show. Now, this is what I'll be showing in a lot more depth as well. So we have a basalt floor. Now, the reason I wanted to go to this area because I used to think that the basalt was cast, but now I believe after being there, the basalt is actually blocks that have been cut and they have a rough and ready backside underneath. And what they've done is, just like modern days, they've laid and levelled out the basalt on a bed of, we would use concrete, but they've used liquid limestone. Now the interesting thing about this is, and you can see how level this is the finished floor. This is the finished floor right here. And as the further away you go from the big pyramid, the basalt blocks get bigger. And that's because it's compensating the gradient of the limestone that's falling down away from the pyramid. So let me just show you this, because this is where I'm going to turn it up a little notch. So let's have a look here then. A lot of people wouldn't actually notice this. You've got to be someone like me who likes to get amongst it and have a look. So I'll start having a look about the coastline, peeling back bits of stone, and what do I see? Pipes, cables. Now I'm not claiming this stuff is pre-flood, but I believe this is a lot older than what they claim or they would say it is in the narrative. Now, why do I always find in these tracks pipes and cables? Why is that? Why is that? I mean, I found it in Malta and Sicily. Let me just show you Malta. So we've got one of these tracks running here, but again, you need a keen eye. Let's have a look. A little zoom in. And what you can see is that track running along the bottom. There's one just above it that I've zoomed in. And you can see that that's been filled in with a geopolymer mix of limestone, and inside of that is a pipe. So they put the pipes in and then fill it up. Again, if we look here, the tracks, you can see there was a pipe sitting directly inside. And they're not always like that, you know. Again, another pipe sitting inside some limestone. I mean, if that wasn't a cast bit of limestone, how would that pipe sit inside it? But check this one out. This is a cracking example of something. Now, this is a cart track, and the inside of the track has been lined with a waterproof material, which I find in cisterns in Malta. I found some of it in Matera, Egypt. It's everywhere. It's like a waterproofing lining. And then inside of that, you've got the pipe. Bonkers, huh? So what I want to do is I now want to attach these channel marks that I found, because these are everywhere on the Giza Plateau, coming from the pyramids to where they need to go to. Just like in Malta, when you've got the cart ruts going to archaeology, the Great Cave. Why is the cart ruts always associated with some sort of stone complex, and why does it always have pipes in the channel marks? Well, seeing as you've asked, Paul, I might as well give you the answer. So, there seems to be, with these stone complexes, an intricate and extremely advanced engineering system going on. So, I seem to be picking up on water systems, and the reason I do that is because of my background as a plumber. I'm naturally programmed to go into any sort of space and look for pipes. Now, the reason I mentioned to you guys earlier about the gradient of the fall of the limestone from the pyramids going downhill is because I believe the waters were sitting inside these channel marks inside pipes, and these were feeding the rest of the Giza plateau. So you can see here the pipes come from this shaft on the left hand side. But another interesting thing before I show you this shaft, we also find, and it's very common, Matera, Sicily, any Cartwright site, you will see these channel marks that run past these boxes. Now, when I was in Matera, the third oldest city in the world, they were saying that these boxes, and just another one here, you can see that you've got a channel mark runs right through it, and it's coming from a shaft in the background which is in front of the pyramid. Bonkers, huh? So I don't know how old this advanced plumbing system is, but one thing I do know is if we date the Egyptians to around 5,000 years old, their floor that they was walking on was the basalt floor, and underneath that is all these channel marks with the pipes sitting underneath it. So this system must be at least 5,000 years old in the narrative. But me personally, I believe it's a lot older. And you can see here what I was talking about earlier. Anyone that knows about laying stones and slabs, the flush part will go at the top, and you fill in the gaps underneath, and you wedge it up, and you put bits of stones in and bits of concrete in. Here they've used liquid limestone and bits of sandstone and bits of limestone, because you're not really going to be cutting out these little stones to make them fit snug underneath, so the basalt is absolutely flush on top. You're not. I mean, just check this bit out here. Check these little bits of limestone liquid that have propped up these basalt blocks so they can sit flush. And this is no different to what we do now. The pipes sit in the floors, and we have concrete pavement going over that, and you don't even know the pipes are underneath it. But what's interesting about this site is the people in control about what we learn about our history specifically took the pipes out of this area because they've lifted up the floor where the basalt was once sitting, and they've revealed all these channel marks and boxes. And when I say boxes, what I mean by that is these cavities in the floor, which are like square box shapes. When I was reading a book from Matera about the oldest city in the world, they were saying that the water goes to local cisterns for drinking water. So I wonder if the water supply is coming from this shaft down here. I don't know how they pump it up, I don't know how, but if they're making an advanced system like this, I'm sure they'd have got the water up there somehow, even if it's something like Archimedes' screw, you know. So you've got a deep shaft, and on the right hand side you've got a ledge, which is interesting. So I believe the water's being pumped up from here, and I believe it goes into these channel marks, which are everywhere, which I will show you in a sec. I will start following in a minute. But they go into these channel marks and get distributed around the plateau downhill, and it's all underneath the basalt floor. Now, if you like this sort of stuff, guys, please give us a like and a subscribe and a share and a comment, because it's one way you can support this channel for free, and it does wonders for me. It's mad. I just don't understand how, and again, I'm not knocking archaeologists, but I don't understand how they don't pick up the channels, the pipe work. I don't get it. Like, it's there, like you walk over it, it's there. And I'd like to know the group of people in charge that made it their mission to pick up all the basalt and remove the pipework underneath. It's crazy, huh? So one thing I learnt while I was on the Giza Plateau is that the pipes do go under the floor, under the basalt, in the channel marks. And also, on top of that, I'd like to add that water flowing freely, that will run through the granite. So you'll see little channel marks in granite. That one will not be in pipes. That'll be like a feature, like a water feature, something you see on show. Just brings so many questions though, doesn't it, guys? Why did I find these tracks in Sicily at Archimedes' tomb? Go and check that site out, guys. In fact, let me show you now what Archimedes' tomb is like. It's exactly the same as this. It's a stone complex with cart ruts running over it, feeding the apartments. Now, I'm not saying that this Giza plateau is feeding apartments. All I'm identifying is you've got a water source coming from in front of the pyramid and then distributing downhill towards the rest of the complex. You guys can fill in the gaps and do what you want. I can just show you the imagery and the footage. So I believe this is a great example because you can actually see that there is a couple of square cavities. So something sat there and was fed from underneath. When I mean fed, I don't mean food, I mean water. Fed water from underneath. You can see that something was here. Something sat there and just in front of it. So when I show this image on the right hand side, it gives you an understanding of what I mean, because you can see the pipes that are highlighted in the red and the blue, and you can see that they actually terminate at specific spots within that area on the drawing. And that's what I believe is going on here. The squares here are obviously some sort of water feature, fountain, or somewhere to collect water maybe for the public. But underneath the basalt is where the extremely advanced water system is. Now, when you think about this stuff, you've got to take into consideration, it's not something you just knock up. Right, you would have to take into consideration the volume of water being used, the flow rate of that water as well. So what I'm getting at is things have to be monitored. Like, you can't just have gushing water flowing through. So that needs to be taken into consideration. All of the stuff, all the planning would have had to be written down. Sourcing the materials, logistics of the materials, making the pipes. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I'd love to see how they designed and wrote down all the materials that they needed for this job and how they was going to do it, like their method statements and stuff. I'd love to have seen all this stuff because it has to have existed. You don't just knock this up, like design and build. Yeah, I'll put a bit here, put a bit here. This is incredibly advanced. This is distributing water from one part to multiple areas on the Giza Plateau. And then on top of that, you have liquid limestone, which is acting as a bed for basalt to sit on top of. Absolutely crazy. Look at these boxes. And it looks like there's a main channel mark running through there, like a mains water pipe running through that top bit. It's crazy. Like, guys, you tell me what you think is in these boxes. What do you think went in these boxes? Do you reckon it's fountains? Do you reckon it's water features? And again, I noticed this material when I was in Malta. And again, it's related to these track marks. It's like you've got these like fibres and these weird stony shell things in there. It's not something that I'd say is natural. It's almost like a coquina sort of mixture, like a heavily dense lime material. Calcium based material mixed with lime. Very interesting stuff. But I'm just going to follow this channel mark now, and you can see where it branches off, the boxes it fills up. And also, please take note of the size of the basalt blocks. When I was close to the pyramid, they were less than half a foot. Now I'm further away, they're almost 2 foot tall, and that's because the limestone underneath the basalt is falling at a gradient to allow the water to flow. So to accommodate that loss of gradient, to keep the ground level, the blocks have to get bigger moving away. And again, you've got this humongous channel mark running, and it would have been directly underneath the basalt, filling up multiple boxes. I don't know if they're filling up boxes, but there would have been some sort of water point here. I don't think they was collecting water. I think it was to distribute water. And again, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And then here you can see that the channel mark gets covered up with like dust and sand. But I'd just love to know who destroyed this basalt floor, who took away all the water features, and who took the pipes out. That's what I'd like to know. And then what originally was it used for? And how old is it? It just goes on. See this here? This looks like it could have been some sort of... This looks like it could have fit inside one of these square cavities. I mean, I'm only guessing, guys. I'm only trying to connect the dots here. But it is fascinating. And also note that this is a slightly different material to that one I just showed you. That was what I was saying was like a coquina sort of material. See, it's branching off. So you can tell by the radius and the angle that these channel marks go round which way the water's flowing, and you can tell that it's flowing away from the pyramid downhill. So I'd love to know what's going on there. What is actually going on the pyramids? What were they for? What were the pyramids originally used for? I mean, were they used for a power source? Were they used for... I mean, if there was a power source, what power source were they using? Was it water? I mean, because it's very interesting that you got this shaft directly outside the main pyramid, and then you've got all these channel marks coming away from there. Fascinating. Fascinating stuff. So what was the pyramids used for? And another thing that people don't really talk about, just outside where I'm standing, this floor that I'm standing on that has the channel marks inside has been made up of humongous blocks. And I've been saying this now because I've been to the plateau probably 3 times. I've said that people talk about how much blockage is on the pyramids, and I'm sitting there saying how much blockage is underneath your feet. I'm going to show you a little clip in a minute, and you need to keep an eye on the floor, and I'll show you how much blockage is on the floor. But first, let's just have a look. Let's just have a look at this rough and ready basalt that would have a coarse backside underneath, and what they do is they just press it in onto the limestone and bang it down with a little hammer or some sort of club hammer to get it level. Absolutely phenomenal stuff, isn't it? This is absolutely phenomenal. And also, guys, I'll be showing you some footage within this week of me going and getting lost on the Giza Plateau. I like to go to places where people don't like to go to. Well, that's where my research takes me, ironically. But I mean, look at the basalt fluctuating here. And what they've done is they've just packed it out with stones and liquid limestone, Roman cement. And the Romans did not make this liquid Roman cement limestone stuff. The Romans are no more than thieves. They stole everything and rewrote the history. Tried to claim they made the wheel and all this stuff. Nah. Here, look, you can just see. So if you're a non-believer of geopolymer, that means that they would have had to cut the base of the basalt onto the top of the limestone to make it fit snug. But that would have been impossible. absolutely impossible. What they do is, which you can clearly see, they've put some sort of concrete down, limestone concrete, and then just bang bang bang, put it in, propped up little bits with stones here and there to get it level. No more different than what you do today. No more different than what you do today. It's the same with the channel marks, like propping up the slabs, using the slabs as like a finished floor to cover the pipes. Unbelievable stuff, guys. Let me know what you think, because this is only my opinion. I want to know what you guys are thinking, so let me know in the comments. Phenomenal stuff. And then some people, I just want to counteract something. Some people will say they know where the stones come from for the pyramids because they found the quarry. And what I will say to that is if the stones have been quarried and there's no answer or excuse how they moved them stones to this area, then you should maybe listen to what I'm saying. I am saying they broke them down and moved the material in manageable form. So you go to a quarry, you break the stone down and you move it to where you're going to make it. And that's what they do today, exactly the same. That's why you see these humongous trucks with material getting moved everywhere. Now, if this stone was not cast, then how the heck do you explain these two stones linked together like it's been two stones cast on top but merged into each other? Did they cut this Z-shaped stone out of a quarry and then fit it somewhere where it could fit in? No, I don't think. So if someone says, oh, we know where the materials come from because it's identified in a quarry in somewhere else, say, yeah, the material has to have come from somewhere. It has to have come from somewhere. Check this out. So imagine in 100 years' time, there's a block of Portland cement that's gone off. It's been rained on, it's gone off, it's gone hard. Right? And that's up in Scotland. Now imagine 100 years' time, everyone forgot about concrete, and then they found this weird shape that is in the shape of a bag, because it's been sitting in a bag for God knows how long, but it's gone hard. And they go, oh, we've identified this because it's the same material as Portland. It doesn't mean that that bag of cement that was once dust was a stone cut from a quarry in Portland. It means the material was taken from Portland and cast where it needs to be cast. So remember, guys, when I said to you guys, the amount of blocks on the Giza Plateau, just keep an eye on the floor. There is hundreds of times more blocks on the floor than there is on the Giza Plateau. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Look at the floor, look at the blocks on the floor. Absolutely humongous. But I digress, guys. If you like this footage, please give it a like, give it a share and a comment. And if you're feeling generous, please, on Patreon, subscribe to us on Patreon. It helps us to get out to these sites, guys. And I appreciate every single one of you. I am doing a new load of videos of all my footage, so stay tuned. One love, guys. Ta-das. Ta-das.